Hey guys, I've tried to make this video several times now, but every time I press record, I freeze because I'm very camera shy still. So bear with me. I apologize in advance if I'm kind of all over the place a little bit. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about since I had my class last week. A few things have happened. Primarily, Trump was elected, so I don't want to talk about that very much. Hopefully, it's not as bad as a lot of us have been thinking it's going to be. Hopefully, he has to become much more presidential very quickly and has a lot of really good people on his team, and hopefully, we can see some good come out of this. I think it's really just shown how divided people are. People are very disenfranchised with our systems of governance and the amount of money in politics and things like that. But enough about Trump for now, though. My last class in the entrepreneur course that I'm taking, I made a commitment to my classmates and my teacher that I would make more videos, and I committed to doing 10. So this is the start of the real 10. Over the last several years of telling myself and friends that I want to do this, I've had to really think about why. And one of the biggest challenges with me getting into doing this is it's a little tough to believe in yourself that what you have to say is interesting enough that people should want to listen or that they will listen. When I come across the artists and the authors, speakers of all types that I like, I love what they do. I love what they're putting out there, but I am very aware of how little I know about so many things. You know, I know a little about a lot of topics, but I don't know a very extensive amount of very many topics. So that's why one of the things that I would like to do is share with you some of the best things that I've come across. You know, with some of the books I've read and documentaries I've watched, articles I've read, all sorts of stuff. The authors or the creators, they always point you in the direction of their sources and all these other materials. And one of the reasons that I want to share what I've come across is that I would never have come across so many of the things that I have and I love and that have helped shape who I am and who I want to become if it weren't for all of these other people kind of putting their own thoughts and their own voice out there. So I'd really just like to share some of the best things I've kind of come across in my journey of life up to this point. But, you know, I've been really thinking a lot, especially lately, about why it is that I want to do this. And for me, it's a number of things. Like, I want to express myself. This is a creative outlet for me. I think that everything that we do in life as humans is all about storytelling, and I love stories. I think we all do. You know, our movies, our music, our books, our television, theater, our everything is embedded with stories. Like it's who we are. There's a book that I read by this professor at, like, I think he's a professor at some university or college in the States. His name's Jonathan Gottschall, and it's called The Storytelling Animal. That he really goes into depth with like a lot of those concepts, but it's really, really fantastic read. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I just want to, I want to share my interests so that I can, motivate and encourage and entertain and educate people while going through that process myself, right? But the biggest thing is that I want to connect with people. I want to connect with people, not just who are like me. I don't want to be in this, bubble. I like to talk with people who think differently than me and try to understand different perspectives that I don't without doing that. But I would like to connect with the people and find the people that my own message resonates with, to kind of show them that they're not alone. There's other people out there who think like you and feel the way that you do. even a lot of people who might disagree with you on certain things, there's a lot of core things that hold us together, right? A lot of what I want to and I'm going to talk to you about is going to be kind of through the lens of my experiences in life, particularly in relation to mental illness. I have a family history of mental illness on my mother's side. I've written about this on several occasions, so it's kind of already out there a little bit, but definitely never talked about it in this forum before. But I struggle with my own mental health on a maybe not daily basis, but close enough. I've struggled with depression for most of my life, and the mental health issue on my mom's side of the family is like basically all the women, and from what I can see of my close relatives, most of the men as well suffer from bipolar disorder. I've never been diagnosed with it, but I've gone through my own experiences enough and learned enough about the human mind and how it works to try to understand what is going on in my head that I know that I suffer from symptoms of it. But I don't want to get too in depth about that right now. That's something that I would like to talk about kind of in greater details at another time. But the reason that I want to talk about my challenges is that I believe the challenges that I've had, the challenges that we have as individuals and communities, it's all intertwined in kind of like the political and social structures that we find ourselves embedded in, that we're a part of. And a lot of people don't like politics, and I don't like politics just as much as the next person. There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of corruption. It's confusing. A lot of people don't have the time or the energy or just the headspace to really get into that stuff or worry about it that much. But one of the things that the way that I look at politics is that it's about power, and look at some of the most popular television shows and stuff that are out there. House of Cards, Game of Thrones. You have all these shows that are made up that they're so popular and people love them so much, yet they don't make the connection that, like, as fucked up as those stories are and entertaining, we made those up because they're a reflection of us in real life, in history and now. Right? So politics is all about power. There's a guy that used to be like a campaign writer, or I forget what his exact title was for Bill Clinton. His name is Eric Liu, and he has one of the best TED Talks I've ever seen. It's called Why Ordinary People Need to Understand Power. So he kind of like has provided me that framework really to look at politics as power, right? Like, what is power? How is it created by individuals? How is it created collectively by groups? And kind of like how it operates. Who has it? Who doesn't? And why? And one of the best points that he makes is that it's the very few people who understand power, because they understand it, they hold like a very disproportionate amount of influence over everybody else, right? So this is why, there's so much corruption in politics and collusion between corporations and, the revolving door between the corporate world and government, especially like in the States. But yeah, it's just politics is about power. And I find power to be extremely interesting, especially because the more you learn about it, the more you learn that we do have ways to become literate in how it works and how we can make an influence, and we can influence politicians and corporations and those who run them and things like that. So that's something that I want to probably touch on like a decent amount, but it's not just about that. Like, everything is related, everything that we see going on in the world is all related to politics. We have science and technology has advanced so exponentially over the last like few decades even, but we're kind of like socially and politically we're stuck 50, 100, a couple hundred years ago, basically just kind of acting the same way we always have in those realms. But yeah, like all of our social and environmental issues, it's all very intimately tied to the institutions in our society, whether that be government or in the private sector, how they work, who affects them, who has power within them, and how it affects society. We've got the biggest like gap in wealth from rich to poor that we've ever seen. And I'm concerned about these things. I care about them, and I would like to do something about them myself, and to see other people get involved as well, because I believe unless we really start talking about all of this stuff more, then nothing's ever really going to change, right? So kind of politics and social and environmental issues aside, I'm just really interested in a lot of things that are going on in the world. It's not by any means all negative, but I also don't want to necessarily have to sugarcoat things, right? Like if we have problems, we have to be able to talk about them. But we live in this culture of fake positivity a lot of the time. Even in how we greet each other, everyone's always like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And you're like, "Oh, good." Even if you're not good, that's just the way we greet each other. And we don't kind of dip below the surface a lot and provide each other a space to talk about how we really feel. So even me making videos is about doing that for myself, but also giving people a space to kind of join the conversation and feel like they can be a bit more real, even though that's talking about maybe some stuff that might be perceived as negative or the challenges that they're going through. But yeah, I've always been very interested in like human psychology, specifically because I have known from a very young age that my family is affected by mental illness. So my mom explained her experiences to me in quite a lot of detail over the years, and I think it prepared me a lot just to be able to deal with whatever it is that goes on in my own head. But I've spent a lot of time, reading literature about this stuff, so that hopefully, with more knowledge comes more power to understand and just deal with the negative voice in your head, the day-to-day craziness that seems like goes on up there sometimes. But yeah, so I'm really interested in science and technology and art, and I think that everything is very related. Like basically everything in our world is so interconnected, and the systems that we've developed are so complex that most of us don't and for like to a great extent can't really understand them, right? So I'd like to share what I've learned, what I'm learning, some of the best educational and entertainment kind of material that I've come across over the years, and kind of just find my voice in the process and get over my fear of talking in front of camera, talking in front of larger groups of people, public speaking, singing in front of people. So hopefully this video wasn't too long and you guys liked it and are looking forward to more. I'm looking forward to doing more. I know it's still very rough, but I'm gonna get better, I promise. But bye for now.